Ads don't work on me and I don't pay attention to them. That means my business doesn't need ads. That is absolutely not true, and I'm going to talk you through why that is. Hello and welcome to Engage and Thrive, also known as EAT, your coffee catch-up with me, your host, Taelon, where we will go through common problems and hurdles that come up in business, marketing and advertising and try and demystify them. I know firsthand how complicated and confusing it can seem with all the different acronyms and all the things to do in business. So let me try and help you be better in business. First things first, let's start with grabbing a coffee. So firstly, do you appreciate and like the new cup? The other one broke. It was a bit of a disaster and I've had it for so long that I was actually really distraught. And the new one, I feel like the branding colour is slightly different. Anyway, I want to start off by explaining why I think this statement is so used and people don't really realize what they're saying about ads. I think nowadays an ad is not an ad of what we thought it was years ago, and comes in many forms. So for example, we all follow people on Instagram and YouTube, and there's so many influencers. They are a form of an ad, an advertising. Then if you leave things in a shopping cart and you get an email or boosted content around that, that's an ad. Or if you have like reviews and recommendations, or you might like this, again, that can all be forms of ads. So I think people have got quite a fixed idea of what an ad is from olden times, or in the category of ads, and not necessarily what we can do. So for the context of this episode, just to clarify, I'm going to be talking about digital ads. So I keep saying the word ads now, it's going to start sounding weird. So not billboards, not magazines, or a sponsored editorial in a magazine or anything offline. We can get into a whole other discussion about offline versus online, but my playground, or what I think is more interesting to talk about for this, is the online version of advertising. So online ads, specifically around websites and social media. As always, we're going to cover off acronyms. So ones that will likely be mentioned when you're talking about online advertising. And I say that because when it's offline advertising, there's certain acronyms that just wouldn't be the same thing or used in the same way. The first one being A/B testing. So A/B testing literally means you have ad A and ad B, and you run both. And then you can either run for the whole campaign and see what worked and decide what you do in your next campaign, or you run for an initial period, whether it's 24 hours, 48 hours a week, and then turn one off, whatever is the best performing ad. So that is A/B testing. In the context of offline, that would be a lot harder and a lot more expensive to do. The other one would be CTR. So again, we've covered this off before, your click-through rate, which is really important when you're thinking about your online ads and where you spend your money and how you allocate your money next to do. And the other one would be CPA, so cost per acquisition. This is actually like the last part of the funnel, but again, it's really important to understand your acquisition. Acquisition being the person's actual final purchase, so whether it was a subscription, a product, physically coming to your shop, whatever you wanted them to do. That's really important to kind of understand that whole funnel back to advertising, to know that person came in my shop from a Facebook ad that I ran for £20 a week, or whatever it was. Okay, so without giving too much away and going into the takeaways, I'm actually going to cover off really 3 key takeaways. 3. And it's more things that you should be thinking about when you're doing your ads. So number 1, as always, the most important thing to think about is your customer profile. So who are you trying to target, and what are you trying to get them to do? And this is, again, we could go into a lot more in depth around active and passive that I've briefly spoken about before. So is this someone that you are already engaged with in an audience aspect? So they're an existing customer, or they already follow you and you want them to level up and buy in and buy something from you. Or is it that you're trying to reach a whole new audience and you're trying to build out your profile or your brand in a new location or a new customer profile? They would be more your passive profile in terms of what you want them to do and how long it would take and how long it takes them to convert, and which kind of leads me next part into the customer journey. Number 2, customer journey. So really, if it's your active versus your passive, your customer journey that they're going to go through when you're thinking about how you engage with them, the active profile and the active ads and the active people that you're targeting, their customer journey is likely to be a lot shorter. You probably need to do less ads to them because they already know you, they know who you are, and then more likely to convert. Those are also likely, people would call them your quick wins, right? So who do you think you can really get to buy in sooner? And then your passive audience for your ads, where you're trying to get into a new reach or a new market or whatever, who've never heard of you before, their journey is likely to be a lot longer, and you may need to have several different touch points to engage them and build your reputation and build your awareness to get them to do something. So whether it's sign up to a newsletter or buy your product or service, it's likely that you may need to advertise them a few times to build that trust. And again, all of this leads into like different versions of the funnel and your conversions of your funnel, and understanding all of that is really important. Which then leads me in nicely to number 3, which it may seem like these are all logical things, but these are things that people underestimate. And it's specifically around number 3 is a lot of people will just go, oh, I posted some stuff on social media, so I'm just going to boost it and see what happens. And oh, I don't mind spending like £2 on it. Or like, oh, TikTok's running a promotion, so I'll do my £9 and I get £15 for it if I can just boost some stuff. So the likely thing is, if you're just boosting and that's what you're treating as your ads, then that's not necessarily the right targeting that you're doing for the right content for your audience. So if you're trying to reach your current audience, your active audience, then yeah, okay, boosting might work, but actually you may want to do still some brand awareness stuff or some like harder selling to your active audience, right? Which your organic content that you're posting, whether on your site and on your social media, is more for your community engagement and building that conversation, you know, getting people to comment on your posts and interact with you rather than like a hard sell. And then for your passive demographic, the ones that you've never reached before that you're trying to reach, they don't know who that you are. And so if you're just going straight to sign up or buy, who are you? Like, well, what do you do? And it's also, if you have an unusual name, I mean, I can say that because I have a unique name. So you need to go back to basics for your passive demographic and explain who you are, what you do, and take them on a journey, which is why the asset part is so important. So that's when you really think about your static content versus your video content and your retargeting and, you know, all of that coming together rather than just a boost in terms of, yeah, that's me trying ads. Okay, that's like to give the 3. I suppose the final bonus part, which kind of goes on top of all of that, which I've kind of alluded to, is the big thing with all of the ads is to be measuring the whole time that you're doing things. So everything that you're doing, you need to understand why you're doing your A/B test. What are you doing of your active versus your passive? How are you changing different variables? What is your, you know, your CPA or your CTR or even your ROI, missed that as an acronym. But, you know, your return on investment. So why were you doing this and would you do it again? But really understanding the variable changes. So then you can see, okay, we changed those captions and that worked. Or we tried targeting at a different time of day, that worked. Or we did a YouTube pre-roll to this demographic in this location and we tried this city and it didn't work. And don't be afraid of what didn't work, because all of that data feeds back into your objective, your customer profiles, your assets, and why you're doing each of those and how you do the retargeting. So that's the bonus piece, really, is don't forget about the data. And yeah, besides from that, that is kind of in summary why an ad isn't necessarily what you think is an ad. And in other episodes, we'll go further in depth about different platforms and the variations of ads you can do, and the other ads that aren't necessarily ads, which is the influencers, the reviews, the recommendations, how to spot display networks and other types of ads that you don't think are an ad. But thank you for joining another episode of Eat with your host, Taelon. Join me next week for Engage and Thrive.